Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, and we're going to be taking on an Am I the Asshole today. Here is one which is interesting, which is this person's asking if they are the asshole for being petty and not helping a struggling coworker. It's a good one. So the person writing this is a 23-year-old female. She started a new job a couple of weeks ago at a small optometry practice. She had lots of prior experience and quickly became comfortable and got into the flow of things at this new office. Her coworkers are super nice and the owners and doctors are really chill. She says, the problem I'm running into is that all of my coworkers have their own niche that they prefer to do. And for some of them, that's all they'll do. For example, someone she calls Andrea prefers pre-testing patients before they see the doctor. And if the phone is ringing off the hook and there's no one to answer, she will let it go to voicemail because it's the front desk job. I've asked the owners if they are really that rigid of positions, and they said they want everyone cross-trained and jumping in to help where needed. Anyway, today was a little rougher. I'm 38 weeks pregnant and have been incredibly sore and slow today. I mean, that's a whole different thing. 38 weeks pregnant and still having to work. Usually it's not an issue, but for some reason today my body is not having it because you should be resting. I was scheduled to pre-test today, which involves a lot of time on my feet. After struggling through the first half of the day, I felt like I was going to collapse. I asked if my coworker, she's calling Melissa, a 40-ish female, who was scheduled today in billing, if it would be okay if I taught her how to do the pre-testing so I could trade her for an hour to get off my feet for a bit. Melissa told her, I don't want to learn how to pre-test. If I learn how to do it, I'll get shoehorned into it every day. And she says that is not, and the letter writer says this is definitely not true. I am cross-trained in all the tasks, and I rotate what I'm doing daily. I was almost in tears for the rest of the day trying to do the testing. I was waddling painfully and had stabbing pelvic pain. My boss offered to let me go home after noticing my walk, but I need the money and haven't worked there long enough to get paid time off yet. Toward the end of the day, I pre-tested the last patient and got to finally sit down and chart for a bit. The pain pretty quickly started to fade after that. Nearby, Melissa was getting flooded with phone calls and patients with insurance questions. I'm trained on billing and would normally have jumped right in to help, but I was feeling kind of petty and chose not to. Melissa turned to me after a bit and asked if I would take a call on hold to answer some billing questions for a really angry patient. The letter writer says, I'm a little ashamed of this, but I responded, I'd rather not get shoehorned into billing duties all the time. Melissa glared at me and turned back to her computer. She was incredibly stressed and overwhelmed after that. Karma's a bitch, Melissa. As the cherry on top, my boss came up to tell me I was good to leave 30 minutes early and that he'd pay me for that time, so I left Melissa in the dust. Karma works again. My husband says that while I was a bit petty, no, she wasn't. I am not the asshole because I treated Melissa the same as she treated me. My conscience is bothering me about it, and I'm stressed that I've created drama in an otherwise drama-free work environment. No. But at the same time, I don't feel like I was asking too much. Am I the asshole? It isn't a drama-free work environment. You have all these coworkers who are like, I won't do this, I won't do that, I won't get out of my lane, I'll only do this job. I'm going to let this waddling 38-week pregnant woman, no. That is not a drama-free work environment. Actually, it sounds like an incredibly toxic work environment. And it sounds like the bosses in this place are completely unaware of what's going on. So no, definitely not the asshole. So we've all worked with a Melissa. And you got, in some ways that's sort of like her, like if that was a movie, you would have loved that moment when she said, don't want to be shoehorned into billing, Melissa. What it is, a real core element of toxic personalities is being hypocritical. And hypocriticalness, hypocrisy, and entitlement go hand in hand. What is it? What is hypocrisy? One set of rules for me, one set of rules for you. And that's an entitlement. Those rules don't apply to me, but they apply to you. So when clearly the woman who is pregnant and saying she's uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, 38 weeks, with that pelvic pain, she could have dropped that baby right in the office, right? So it's its own, that's a whole own series of things. the fact of the matter is that she literally asked. It's not like this person who wrote this, the letter writer, saying, oh, I wish Melissa could have seen I was in pain. She asked Melissa to help, and Melissa hit her with the whole I don't want to be shoehorned thing. And then that Melissa even felt entitled to ask this woman for help after she blew her off. Well, I mean, the arrogance there is also compelling, right? And this right here is where the toxic coworker isn't just necessarily someone who's abusive and harassy and mean and all of that. Sometimes the toxic coworker is the one who's hypocritical like this. They're not going to help you when you're in a jam, but as soon as they're in a jam, they actually expect you to step up. And then poor Melissa was oh so frustrated. Meanwhile, this woman is about to pop a baby at work because she was standing for so long, but Melissa didn't seem to care about that. I'm not thrilled that this poor woman's husband told her she was being petty. I actually don't think she was being petty at all. This whole idea of having to relent to the toxic people's BS all the time, and when we don't, we're all being petty? Please. I mean, and that's the gaslight of it all, right? Well, they didn't, yeah, I know they didn't do the right thing, but turn the other cheek. Y'all, we're all running out of cheeks to turn. That's what happens in a toxic world. That's the problem. No, you weren't being petty. In fact, giving it back to Melissa is probably something Melissa needed a long time ago. You know, pay attention in the workplace when you might have valid reasons, but her reason was like, I don't want to be shoehorned. Okay, so you just got shoehorned into something that you weren't able to manage. Instead of saying, okay, someone's struggling. Like, again, toxic people are hypocritical about karma too. They don't actually understand karma, but it's like, well, everything should just work out the way I want to just because I'm me. But in fact, had she relieved the person who wrote the letter for an hour and let the poor woman sit down, and then maybe the letter writer would have gone back to done those tests, you know, ahead of seeing the doctor, and then Melissa needed the help, this lady would have probably helped her. So I think that, you know, again, what's hard about toxic relationships of any kind is that they never want to step up. But when we call them out on their stuff or kind of give it back to them just as badly as they gave it to us, we feel petty. And in fact, the language she used here was she feels her conscience is bothering her. I think when we behave in ways that we think aren't perfectly empathic, our conscience does bother me. But I got to tell you, with the Melissas of the world, there is no path forward, right? There's no way to move ahead and have the Melissas of the world. Like if Melissa had turned to her and said, you know what? I did wrong by you earlier today. I didn't step up when you asked me to help you, and now I actually really need your help. And if Melissa had actually apologized to her, I bet you letter writer might have stepped up and say, thanks for noticing. Sure, I'll help you out. So the only way to shut the Melissas down for a moment, and I'm sure Melissa's going to be vindictive. Hopefully this woman just took some time off to have her baby, and maybe Melissa will forget. Probably won't, though. Most toxic people have pretty long memories. But the Melissas of the world always get away with stuff because either people don't want to take them on, or they're vindictive, or they just put us in these corners where a lot of other people in a work team will just give. The Melissas will take, and they'll never, ever step up for you. Pay attention to those rhythms in your workplace, but this woman definitely not the asshole. I hope she had a healthy delivery and a healthy, happy baby, and hopefully gets enough of a break so that when she goes back to what is not a drama-free workplace, the way these people conduct herself, as somebody who went right back to work after I had my children, it's not easy. I worked right up to the end. I went right back, and it's a lot. And I had a job where I had to stand. So I also get that too. So this is unacceptable. And Melissa, not so good. Thanks again.